I'm going for a new. Okay, so we are live now, and nobody's watching currently, so that's okay. And I'll let you know when I see somebody pop in. But I guess we'll just hang out for a minute until we get some people on. See, I think we're starting to lose. We gotta drum some people up. But I did add your new line there. Here we go. Now we got people coming on. All right. Hi, everyone. Good evening. We are on, oh my gosh, how many episodes have we had now? Like 5 or 6? Yeah. So, and they just keep, we were just saying before you guys came on, make sure that in whichever website you have started off on, please click on the accept terms for StreamYard so that we can see your names, because there's so many different platforms that this is being live streamed on, that if you don't give that permission, we just see YouTube viewer or we just see Facebook user. So forgive us if we know you, but we don't know you because we don't see you. So make sure you do that. And once you do it, as you're it'll always automatically accept you once you grant it permission. So you only have to do it one time. So last week we had talked about unions and possibly a groomer council. And I'm going to let Michelle take over. I think everyone here knows I'm Dara Forleo. We have Michelle Knowles and Jennifer Bishop Jenkins. We are the Groomers Club, but we're also the Pet Pro Educators. So thank you guys so much for joining us. And Michelle, the floor is yours.
All right, so we kind of left off our last meeting, our last get together, if you will, talking some smack about unions. So I had an idea, since we are all getting very, very close to licensing, and that's on everybody's mind. And I think a lot of Board of Educations are also re-looking at what those certifications might mean. I thought that when I look at the parallel between an electrician union and a plumbers union and a teachers union and all these unions, they help set the standards for what it means to be an electrician or a plumber or a teacher. So it was in my mind that we may need to make a movement, start a movement of groomers joining together and picking or voting for top educators in the grooming industry to come together and set standards. Yes or no on anal glands. Yes or no on shaving double-coated animals. Yes or no, and why, and bring the science behind it and say, okay, these are our standards of care. Right. That is even closer to forming a voice in our industry, so that when legal things come, we can absolutely have a bonded voice. Instead of just this groomer over here saying, no, I want to do it this way. And this groomer over here saying, no, we want to do it this way. So yeah. I was just thinking we could start the topic with that. And we do have the benefit of having wonderful Jennifer Bishop Jenkins. She has been a teacher for very many years. And
with a teaching certificate.
Yes.
And a member of a teachers union and all of those comparable things. And I want to say 2 things about what Michelle just said that I really want to highlight. Number one is that all of the other industries that are out there, lawyers, doctors, plumbers, electricians, house painters, they all self-define. They self-regulate. There's not some outside group of people that credential them. And in fact, you can even get a college degree, a master's degree level, even a PhD level. You can get a really solid college degree in any field like the law or medicine or education. And until you are actually credentialed by your states or national associations, that they define their own internal tests, it doesn't matter if you have a bachelor's degree in education or the law or medicine. If you don't have that, sitting for the bar for the lawyers or those AMA boards for doctors or the CPA exam for certified public accountants. You can get a degree in accounting, but if you don't have that CPA test that the other accountants put on, you are not credentialed as a CPA. So the point is that every one of these industries, the precedent is there. In fact, you can't find a major profession that's not the case. The point is that it's not about externally defining ourselves. It's about internally defining ourselves as an industry. And then also to make the other really key point, which is that we've already had those first steps, the wonderful, amazing PPGSA work that was done years.
That's where I was going to go with that, is to say that.
When did they do that? Like 5 years ago when they came out?
I want to say that was like 2012. It's been a little bit.
It's been a while.
But but that's for in the grooming salon.
Right. And let me just say that they deliberately self-limited and did not go. PPGSA, well, first of all, for those of you that might not know about the PPGSA, Professional Pet Groomers and Stylists Alliance, national standards of safety, care, and sanitation. And that's all they covered: safety, care, and sanitation. So they got together in response to very, very aggressive and negative legislation against groomers that was proposed in both California and New Jersey and was being discussed in other places. And they said, boy, howdy, we better have something as an industry to meet that legislative challenge with. And they got together, and as they actually selected, I think they did a wonderful job creating a national coalition of grooming schools, major employers like Petco, PetSmart, all three of the certifying agencies, NDGA, IPG, and ISCC, major schools like Merrifield, the PJAC people, the political people, AKC, Barkley, all of the people that are major institutions in our industry. They all had representatives, and they all met for over a year, and they immediately had decided right out from the start they were not going to talk about grooming. They were not going to say, cut a certain way, hand strip, don't hand strip. They weren't going to do that. They were only going to focus on safety, care, and sanitation, which is so universal. So I think what we're talking about here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, that we're talking about taking that idea of a PPGSA, but taking it to the next level, which is actually getting into grooming.
Right. Getting into the nitty gritty of what is correct, what is the standard of care, what is agreed upon by the actual masters of our industry.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing that I'm looking for, because unless someone leads the way, how do we know? How did the first plumber know what was right and what was wrong? I think we know now. I think we have enough clinical observation under our belts collectively to actually decide what it is that we want. Melissa brings a huge point. Cosmetologists have a state board made up of licensed cosmetologists. Each state has its own board and creates its own standards of practice. Why can't we get groomers to join in on this for us as professionals? That is exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly. Catherine also says, do all the masters agree on the same things? Catherine, the point of the council would be for differing viewpoints to come together like a Supreme Court, if you will, and decide scientifically what is right, what is wrong, what is admissible, what is the standard of care, and why. We need that laid out in some kind of a protocol. So that's what we are talking about.
Michelle, do you envision that this could happen nationally, or do you think that we have to do, like cosmetology and some of the other professions, really, teachers, certainly, it's all state by state. Like what credentials a teacher in Illinois, where I am, is very different than maybe what is in California. And there are some teaching certificates that are so exorbitantly difficult to get that they apply to every other state. But usually some of those credentials are state by state, and those definitions are state by state.
I think that we may have to go national before we go to the state, simply because it is so hard in some states for anybody to get together. They are insert your adjective there.
Yeah.
Scared, mad, afraid, arrogant, blah, blah, blah. I mean,
Too
pick
busy.
your own. Pick your own. Busy, whatever. Yeah, don't care. Yeah, all that other stuff. So if we got all the ones in our great nation to come together, enough from every state, and everyone is welcome, come together and let's form some kind of a standard and why we do or do not do something. That is really important to lead us forward and have less bitterness in this profession against each other. I do it this way. Well, I do it this way. Well, there's reasons why we do and do not do something.
Yeah.
Present the evidence, make the standard, and then, of course, just like any other business or veterinarian or plumber, you find the way you do things within the standard of care.
Yeah.
Melissa, I'm going to put Melissa's other comment up here. Yeah.
Right. That's true.
Yes, cosmetology boards. That's why you can be a cosmetologist, get your license in one state, and then transfer it over to another state, depending on. Some states will have you take a retest, if you will, for their particular state, but most of the time there is some reciprocity going on.
And I don't want people listening to this to get scared about this, because trust me when I tell you, when you are writing standards of conduct in a profession as complex as ours, and I'm going to use my teaching certificate in my teaching, almost 3 decades in the classroom, and holding a teaching credential in multiple states, and getting a master's degree in education and all that. I can tell you that the standards are still very broad. There's still a lot of freedom for interpretation in individual circumstances. You can set a general principle that wire-coated breeds should have some removal of the hair from the follicles because it doesn't pull out on its own and therefore can clog later on in life if you just keep clipping it. But you don't have to fully hand clip everybody. You can just, you can use other follicle flushing techniques, or just a good de-shed before the clip or whatever. There's a wide variety of ways that you can interpret a general principle. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think people need to worry, because almost every profession, its standards, you write the principle and say this is important to do, but then the application of it, of course, still has a lot of individual interpretation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it would just set a standard. It wouldn't be extreme over here, you have to do this, or extreme down here, you never do this. It sets a standard. And that's really all that we need as we come together. And that may be, if we can do it nationally, maybe the states will go, okay, well, I see these national guidelines going on, let's start forming. Because believe me, I know, I've lived and groomed in about 3 states. An association is just not going to happen.
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen.
Not some states are looking decent in there, at least on NAGA. I mean, we're seeing a little bit of play on that, and some states are starting to form, but maintaining membership, getting people on board, because it just takes one person to be like, well, why are they doing that? I don't like what they're about. So it's
well, first of all, tell everybody, Dara, who NAGA is, for those.
I'm sorry.
National Alliance of Grooming Associations.
Yeah.
And it has a Facebook group that is open to everybody, and please jump in. The purpose of the National Alliance of Grooming Associations, especially with the pandemic of recent, it just was a place where we could, all of the state associations could talk about what's happening in their state with shutting down, not shutting down, essential, not essential, what rules were being imposed on us, licensing proposals in other states. We've been having this conversation at the national level with the NAGA for, a year and a half now. And it's really been a good thing just to have a place. It's just a Facebook group at this point, but I think there is a movement to officialize that. It is important that we talk to each other. I can't tell you as a groomer, and I know, but Dara, you look way younger than me. I'm 62, and I can tell you, I groomed my first dog in 1981, and I can tell you that, and just did it part-time while I was teaching. The way that the industry has changed is so enormous. People who've only been grooming for the last 10, 15, 20 years, actually people,
no clue.
right, people who've actually only been grooming since the advent of the internet in the early 90s. If you have never worked in a world without an active internet, you do not know how incredibly isolated groomers always were and always have been. And that's why you see by real generational differences for how people function collegially and how they view networks that are either, leave me alone, I'm on my own, this has always worked for me, I don't need to join up. There's some old school thinking that's going to be a problem there.
Well,
Sonda Bennett Lewis does bring up an important point to just what you were saying. This is what the people are afraid of. If this does happen, would some groomers be grandfathered in that did not get certified? I've been grooming for 30 years. I did go to school, but the school closed down in the middle of my course. I just got my loan released 10 years ago. Now, circumstances may vary, but there are a lot of groomers who have been grooming for decades and want to know, okay, this is scaring me because this is my retirement. I'm getting ready to retire. How is this going to affect my income and what I do? I am a strong advocate for our certification, our main certification things. I think if you get that, you should be grandfathered in. You should be able to do that. But that very well may be a state-by-state thing. And Dara would know more about that because she does the school part of it.
Yeah, and I don't even think that we're talking, Sonda, about doing, necessarily certifications as much as we are talking about having a minimal competency license. Like, for example, right now in the beautician field, in the cosmetology field, you can go to do your 16 in Illinois. It's 1,600 hours. You do your 1,600 hours. You graduate from your school, and then you do your state boards, which are pretty easy usually after that. And then you can practice. Now, then you can go on and become titled in other ways. But I think what we're talking about is a minimal competency credential that's more akin to a license to practice, that could be as easy as some basic breed knowledge and coat type knowledge and product knowledge. And, it could be
anatomy.
Having standards of grooming care, you would know a little bit about skin. You'd know a little bit about the different coat types. You'd know a little bit about zoonotics. You'd know a little bit about all of those things, all of the pertinent things. And that should be the defining line of whether or not you can practice grooming or not. Just like a stylist, just like a plumber, just like a whoever. So
Cat Smart raises a great point. Are they groomers or are they dog people that just know how to do shave downs? Big difference. Yeah, no question about it. I mean, I think that once you attach a fee to it and a test, because all of these licensures that we're talking about in other fields, they do take a test.
Journeyman card costs $150, give or take a $50 bill in any given state. Contractor license can be $300 to $3,000 just to hold that contract to be able to oversee a commercial plumbing endeavor. So, I mean, if you think about it that way, yes. But what we're not talking about the specifics of whether or not we'll be certified or not. What we're talking about on a basic level is having a council that people vote in and are able to feel like they're represented by the people that they believe in and trust to talk about things like, should we do shave downs on double coated dogs? Should we do any kind of anal gland expression? Should we clean teeth? What blades are safe to use? Is reverse shaving okay? And on what dogs? Those kind of things have to be pinpointed and corroborated and supported on a foundation of science. And this council would be there to argue those back and forth and decide on a standard of that particular issue. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I want to stress your science-driven point. There's nothing that is more important. I have said this 1,000 times to people I've trained to groom. Grooming is both art and science. And that can make it difficult because I'll teach somebody to groom and then they'll come back and they'll say, well, so-and-so says this and you say this and they say that. And I'm confused, what's true? And I always urge them to separate art from science.
Yes.
If it is a matter of style, do whatever, you know. If the pom-pom has to be placed here or here, that's just a matter of style. If it's about creating a certain look, that is art. That is not science. So I think that it's really important point you're making, Michelle. It is so important that we say that the only things that are going to be hard and fast with it are going to be matters of fact. And remember that a lot of that stuff has changed and evolved. And, you know, the veterinarians have, you know, 25 years ago, they used to pass us anal gland expression all the time. But
now they don't want us to touch them.
Yeah. Now the veterinarians are saying, actually, that's an internal procedure. We alone should be doing that. They've had longitudinal studies that have shown that you keep squeezing a gland and emptying it out, it's going to fill up faster, and it's breaking down the rectal wall muscle over time. They've got science that is going to inform things that is going to, you know, and then of course we'll come up against the old school thinking, I've always done it, no problems, you know. So it's going to be a process. But
and I tell people all the time, we used to make children over the age of 6 work in factories just like adults. We know that that's wrong. We used to do a lot of things in history.
Yeah.
Enough said that we learned were wrong and we changed. The grooming profession is no different. We know things now that we didn't know before that are harmful and we should not do them.
Right.
That's it. And defining those by science for a foundation from a council of complete all groomers that have achieved their master stylist status, arguing those points and coming up with a standard for you to go by will greatly improve the care of the pets that we work on. And that is going to be, I'm going to say, a foundation for which licensing can happen, because you can't really have a license just random. Okay, you pay $300 and you get a license to be a groomer. It can't be that way. You should pass a board. You should pass a board.
We've got some great comments coming in here. One Facebook user says the council should be all groomers, not legislators. I completely agree. Yeah, we all agree on that. Melissa says almost all service provider professionals require state licensing. Why have groomers been held back from advancing and not these other professions? We agree. Yes. I personally support state licensing of groomers.
Yeah.
But
I think we all do, but you got to start somewhere. And I think the reason we haven't been licensed anytime is because we've been under the radar. We've been floating under the radar, and there's not a lot of us. I think I just saw that there's maybe about 160,000 groomers nationwide.
Actually, a pretty good number.
That's not a lot,
though. According to Dara's point, okay, let's say Fluffy gets hurt by a dryer. Can the police and the people who are regulating the legal part of this then go to our grooming industry board and say, okay, what are the practices? That's the only way that they're going to know whether that groomer did anything wrong to Fluffy, is if we have those standards in place and say, okay, this is how it should be. So according to what we have established, Fluffy was either hurt by the dryer or not hurt by the dryer. You see what I'm saying? Those things are going to help us legally when licensing.
A couple of really other good points here Kat says that she would fail every written test. Well, I can tell you that's already a non-issue, because all of the state licenses in every field have an option for that accommodates learning styles.
Absolutely.
And it has to do with, you can take it orally, you can take you can take
you can have a conversation about it. And if you hit all the points in that conversation successfully, then you have passed your test.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And great point about science. That science changes and evolves. It used to be beneficial to smoke while pregnant, and now the baby. Now we know, of course, not. Yeah, that's the whole point. It's going to be current science. It's going to be the best new science. It's not going to be old school stuff. Definitely.
Yeah, I think I was just going, somebody said, I think a lot of groomers have not previously been taken seriously. I mean, we really aren't, because how can one be taken seriously when we're not even recognized as an industry by the federal government?
Right.
You can't be taken seriously, and there's not enough people who are attending trade shows. There's no reason in today's day and age to not be attending a trade show. It's easy to get to. It's just that it's not important enough to people. And if you have to go, what's one trade show a year? Right. You take a vacation. This is a write-off for a business owner. I mean, if you're not making the time to do this and pay for your staff to go, it takes putting $10 aside a day.
I require my staff to go. Yeah, absolutely. That's so true, Dara. You know, here's another point though, about the federal government not recognizing us. Actually, and I know this because as president of the Illinois Professional Pet Groomers, and I actually worked to get us moved from a non-essential determination recently to essential, and earlier than other professions, because I knew how to work the political system, because I've run for office and I've lobbied for victims' rights and other things. And I can tell you that, in fact, something very significant, I know it seems like it's a really minor thing, but everybody should know this. On April 17th of 2020, remember that date and time, something called Critical Infrastructure CISA guidelines. It was guidelines that were written for what was essential to do in a national emergency. It was written after 9/11, which is a very different kind of an emergency than the current pandemic is, right? The current pandemic is more like a prolonged emergency, whereas 9/11 was just a sort of one bad thing and then cleaning up the consequences of it, right? So critical infrastructure guidelines were what made us, as a grooming industry, I don't think a lot of folks know this, actually got us determined as non-essential in many states and got us shut down because we weren't on that list, because after 9/11, it wasn't critical infrastructure to get your dog groomed. But a prolonged pandemic, different kind of an emergency, changes everything. And that's the argument that I made in Illinois. And everybody is welcome to see the proposal and the reasoning, the legal and scientific reasoning that we used with our state. I will share that with anybody. Just message me. I will tell you that on April 17th, 2020, critical infrastructure CISA guidelines changed the wording about pets under pressure. I mean, they were having conversations, gee, what do we need to revise, as they were living the pandemic CISA applications of what was written for 9/11. And what they came out with is they changed the wording from veterinarians and boarding kennels to, quote, all pet care. And that's our new day. So we actually do have some federal credential now in that sense.
We're getting there. And I think if we don't stop talking about it, we have to be in their face all the time. And I know a lot of groomers are really sick of hearing, us talk about these things, but these are vital to the lifeblood of what we do.
It is. And Melissa said it's not just that they're sick of hearing us talk about it, but they fear it also.
Yes.
Yeah. So knowing now that the pet care field is recognized as a critical infrastructure, and we have that sort of federal, general backing.
It's a foot in the door.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's significant. Pet care is now considered critical infrastructure. So I think we do have a ground, and I know that, I wrote an article about this in Groomer to Groomer this last month about client relations during the pandemic. And my last line of the article was, you don't know what you've got till it's gone, right? That's an old adage, but it's really true. I think a lot of people do pay more attention to us now. I had so many of my clients saying, oh my God, I never knew how important you were to me, but I so appreciate you. And I think we are in a new age. I think that this pandemic is going to help our field in this regard.
Yes, I agree.
And if we don't get a grasp on it, it might be out of our grasp.
Yeah, if we don't straighten up and make our own standards, someone will
do it for us. Exactly.
Yeah, and it'll be someone who doesn't know anything about grooming. So we've got to get our act together here. And if we can't do it on a state level, I say let's do it on a fellowship of a national level, and just let's have this national discussion, because it has to be had.
You know,
Yes,
you're
we
so
talked
right,
about.
Michelle. The reason why they first formed PPGSA to fight about the California legislation and the New Jersey legislation is both of those were very unfriendly. The California original legislation was going to put dog catchers in charge of groomers in
Yes.
California.
We had that here in New Hampshire
Animal
also.
control. Oh, great.
Animal control. And they also had a PETA rep.
Yeah.
Oh God,
That's what we need.
Yeah.
yeah, people who don't believe that you can own dogs, right?
Mhm.
Sorry,
That's the last person we need on that board. So
I love the animal advocates, and I love NAIA. If you guys don't know about NAIA, which is the common sense and reasonable alternative to the PETA movement, where animal rights become insane, and you know you can't ever even own an animal. The NAIA, the National Alliance for the Animal Interests, that group, that is a wonderful group that is putting common sense into our lobbying.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
finally, there's somebody doing that. Yeah.
And I agree, Melissa. We do. And that's exactly what we're discussing here today. We need a national professional pet groomer summit
I love that.
to discuss some of these really
Summit.
difficult issues that no one really knows
gonna
about. The use of Dawn dish liquid, the use of shaving backwards, wet shaving, all these things that so many people, let's talk about the science, figure
Yeah.
out a standard of care, and at least you have that.
Thank you, Andrew, for pointing out that the crazy people need to be kept away.
I'm gonna put that one there too.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think if you build it, they will come. And I think then, you know, we really should actually, you know, start. I mean, let's find out who else is open to this idea and start having these conversations.
Yeah.
So talk about it. Talk about it with your fellow groomers. I know you have far and wide contacts. All of us at some point in time have been to other shows and have built up huge networks of other groomers. Talk about it amongst yourselves. And we're going to be releasing a poll after this to fill out and just ask some questions. Who do you want? Who would you trust to decide those things for you? Throw out some names. We want to get those names in and let's start talking about those things.
And you know, this broadcast that we have been doing this evening is going to be saved at our Facebook page, the Pet Pro Educators, the Facebook group, the Pet Pro Educators. You can then share that widely and have, you know, get people to listen to exactly what we're talking about here. This isn't, we're not the, you know, we didn't make this stuff up. This has been out there, you know, a lot of people have been concerned about it, and it's the precedents in other fields, you can't ignore it. We are behind, way behind in not doing this ourselves.
Yeah.
We really are.
And
it's
it's catch up and it needs to be done.
We are playing catch up, but it also needs to be the right people. And I think that you get back and you see so many fantastic names in the industry, and that not everybody is interested in moving forward. They're happy where they're at too. Mm-hmm. So you've got to really look at where this is all coming from, and making sure that we're talking to I don't want to say the right people, but that everybody is on board, and that those people are going, oh yeah, no, I'm not interested, but you know what? I know who would love to be a part of this and to help be on this, you know, because I know there are so many, and when I like the APPGA, that's a fantastic board, and there's so many great people on that board, and it's just so hard to do everything and be everywhere. So it's finding people that also have the time to commit to this, and those people might not be who's on our list. So it's got to be talked about. It's got to get out there, and
but don't put the horse before the cart, or cart before the horse, I should say. Let's just start talking about it and throwing out some names and seeing if we can pull in some interest from, you know, the upper levels. Let's see what goes on about it. I want to hear what they have to say about these topics.
Oh, we have a wonderful participant from Australia who says that even our having this conversation puts us way forward of countries like Australia, where there's no National Groomers Association. Alejandra, if you live in Australia, start one.
Mhm.
Start. I don't know if Facebook is as big down there as it is here, but down under, if you can just make the Australian Groomers Association, just grab the name, grab it off of a website if you can.
Start talking
buy
about
the
it.
URL.
Your fellow countrymen. Yeah, absolutely.
Just do it and then invite other people to join in. I guarantee you it will take off because people want this. They need this. They will find great meaning in this.
Yes.
And if you're in Australia, isn't that where Emily Myatt is? She has a whole bunch of schools. And
Go to your school people.
Yeah, Emily is a fantastic resource there.
Yeah. I mean, just start it. If it doesn't exist, start it and just go with it, because it's only going to help. And you're going to go in, Alejandra, and you're not going to be about your own self-control. You're going to be about building something that other people will connect to and find meaning in. As long as you don't feel some sense of ownership, you're just putting it out there and you're inviting everybody to participate, it'll be a huge success. So go for it.
Yep. So we're at 36 minutes. We've been really over our time lately. So tonight we're right about at it. We said we were going to keep these to about 30 minutes. And so we'll keep doing that. So our goal is this week to get a poll up. Mm-hmm. And to move forward with that, and we'll post that on the Pet Pro Educators website, or I'm sorry, the Facebook page.
Yeah.
And we'll do that. So we'll have to get together for the three of us to do that. And where do we go next week? We are hot. I'm just going to say it. We are like hot and heavy.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, God, stop being so serious, guys.
Two things. Terry Hinkle says, Dr. Cliff, I'm assuming she's nominating Dr. Cliff, who we all love and admire. But remember, did we say groomers only? He's not a groomer, right? There are great people in our industry. The question is, if this is really a groomers council, that's one of the questions. He's no doubt a fantastic asset to our industry. I love Dr. Cliff, not saying anything different, but I'm just raising that question. We talked about groomers only, right? And one more thing, can I also show you my t-shirt?
Yes. Okay.
So this is my Groomer's Guide t-shirt that says, still shaving? Ask me about alternatives, groomersguide.com. So I have a t-shirt because, got to put the message out there. So this is you can go to my Groomer's Guide Facebook group and get this, but it's and I'm not selling them. You just go to Bonfire and buy them on Bonfire. But it's like, this is what I mean about just like I just am on a campaign about not shaving dogs down all the time. If the Langerhans cells that are going to die when they get exposed to the sun and all that. I just have a passion about this. So I made a t-shirt. I'm just putting it out there, just anybody can do this. Okay.
Yeah. One thing at a time. We're working at it one day at a time. We still have people that come in and want it, but you educate. And I think, Michelle, when you were here, we kind of said that there are those you're never going to convert.
Yeah.
There are just some people, but there are those, and we see it, that we have converted and getting them away from it.
As the new generations of groomers come up, along with older generations of groomers who want more. You can only do a modified lamb and a 7 shave so many times before you just need more than that. You need to do skin. You need to do other styles. You need to do other breeds. You need to do more. So as we get rolling with this and we create the standard, all those bad practices that are unhealthy will fall away.
Yeah.
They will fall away. Mm-hmm. And, you have to start somewhere.
Old school does eventually just die of old age.
Yeah.
Oh, old school. Wow. You want to know old school? I think I told Michelle, you guys, when I moved to Portsmouth, There's a man who comes around with gallons of pre-mixed shampoo, and he drops them off at the grooming shops every week. He walked into my place when I took over and was like, "Are you kidding me?" And he was like, "Oh, well, I deliver here. I've been delivering here for 14 years." And I was like, "Not anymore."
Yeah.
That's one of those things. Come on. No.
Hey, Terry Hincock,
Passion. Stop pre-mixing your shampoos.
veterinary professionals should definitely, when we're talking about science-driven, we would obviously be talking to veterinarians to get information about anal glands and toenails and all that stuff. Absolutely. You know, it's part of the research process. Yeah, absolutely. Well,
All
thank
right.
you.
40 minutes. We did good. Last week we went way over. We did good. Where do you want to go next week?
Well, I think we'll finish out our poll and
Okay.
maybe set some kind of a plan in place to implement it at a very low grade level, so everybody's not too uncomfortable about it. I just want it to be friendly. Let's talk about it. Let's do these things together.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And invite anybody who's been, with us tonight or spreading the word amongst others to go to our Pet Pro Educators Facebook page and, make suggestions, join in. We don't own this. We're just putting it out there. Absolutely.
Let me see if I can.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Sonda. Thank you, Melissa.
There it is.
Oh, there we go.
I'm getting pretty good at this stuff here. I'm going to have us with music before much longer. So there it is. I might put that up there from here on out. Hopefully everything's spelled right since I just did it quick. But all right. So we'll get that poll up. The three of us will work on that. We can do that on the side and put that up, and we'll get that there. We should do it sooner rather than later if possible. That way we got a good week to get some feedback, and then we can see where we're going next week. All right. So tune in next week, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. The rest of you guys in the country, sorry, we'll get that figured out.
5:30, 4:30.
4:30, yeah.
4:30 in Arizona.
Hey, you have Alejandra in Australia. Woohoo, Alejandra.
Yes.
Who
Thank
knows
you
what
for
time it is there?
joining. It must be really
5:00 tomorrow morning.
And isn't it winter? Is it winter there?
It's winter there right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yep. All right, guys. Have a great night. Have a great grooming week, and we will see you next week.
Love you, Michelle. Love you, Dad.
Love you.
Bye.